Welcome in, everyone. Lenox on Baseball for this Thursday as we are approaching the middle of July. Billy Godwin, the head coach at UNC Greensboro, joins us on our latest edition of Lenox on Baseball. We gave a little preview yesterday in talking with Mike Manning of All-Star Baseball Academy out of West Chester, Pennsylvania. Billy, nice enough to take a couple of minutes with us. And Coach, thanks so much for doing this with us. Give us an idea how things on your end are going right now, because usually you'd be out and about and doing a lot of baseball things, and you're probably running at, I'd say, 50% capacity right now. Accurate?
Yeah, accurate. I mean, staying busy from home. I mean, certainly these are different times, I think, to say the least. But staying busy from home, I mean, pretty much my mornings are filled with computer work and, talking to kids and our players and getting them acclimated. Just this morning working on, the transition back to school a little bit with a few of the kids had some questions. And summer leagues, some of the summer leagues are going off. So, just trying to stay busy on that end of recruiting. I mean, we get paid as college coaches to do things. That's to recruit players and to coach the players. And right now we can't do either. So it's a little different time.
This has become my first question. I've had success with it over the last couple of days. Mike answered yesterday. It's a simple question, but give us an idea of when the game of baseball, piqued your interest in, as I said with Mike yesterday, sort of that love affair with the game began for you.
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I mean, again, growing up, it was football, you grabbed a football. It's basketball season, you grabbed basketball. What I remember the most about loving baseball is being in my backyard as a boy and growing up, and having the kids in the neighborhood come over and play baseball or wiffle ball, or even forming local teams, the true Sandlot. And we would play a team from a neighboring community a couple miles away. And just loved everything about the game. And not that I didn't love the other two sports, football and basketball, but just loved everything about baseball and the camaraderie and the community and the kids playing and just getting in the backyard and going after it for several hours.
We are now 3 for 3 with great answers. Thanks for sharing that. And it's a little off the cuff, but I appreciate that. So I had reached out to you back early stages of the college baseball season about Mike Trout, and you were the head coach at East Carolina during his time in high school in New Jersey, and you got the commit. And even just doing Google searches on it, do you get asked about that process of the guy that could have gotten to campus who ends up being in the big leagues 2 years later with Mike?
Yeah, I do periodically. People still remember. I don't go around with a billboard. I signed Mike Trout. I mean, certainly it was a tremendous experience, as it was with a lot of other good kids I've signed. But particularly because of Mike's success and probably arguably the best player in the game today, it certainly makes an interesting story.
Give us an idea of when you sort of got on track with him during his high school days in New Jersey.
Well, I was thinking about when you asked me to do this. It was, when I first started at East Carolina, my first year was the summer of 2005, recruiting. I'd come from being a head coach at Lewisburg Junior College. And recruiting back then was simple. You kind of recruited a class at the time. Kind of unlike it is today where you're recruiting 2-3 classes, at one time. You kind of so it was the summer of 2000. Mike went in the 9 draft. So it was the summer of 2007. There was a tournament at our field, Clark Clare Stadium in Greenville. And one of my good friends that I've known for years ran a team called the Arsenal, a summer team. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey, I know you got some good older kids, and we were interested and we've been recruiting them, but this recruiting stuff is starting to pick up and speed up. Tell me about any young guys you got just to get them on the radar." And he said, "Whoa, Billy," he said, I got a guy, he said, that's built like a linebacker. He runs like the wind. He's 15 years old. And I go, "Really?" He goes, I don't know about the bat yet, but he can really run and he's physical." So I said, "Good." So he pointed him out. I watched him play, and he didn't do much in the game offensively, walked a couple times, but he stole 4 bases, second and third. And I remember going, wow, you don't see anyone at this age, this physical with this kind of speed. And that's what stood out to me. So as soon as it was over, because when you're there on campus, you can grab them and show them around. I grabbed Mike, and we probably spent, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 minutes. He was trying to get on the road to go back to New Jersey. He was being dismissed from the tournament. And we just kind of hit it off. I mean, I felt like, and he told me later that, he felt like he and I, did hit it off. And then I went into my recruiting coordinator's office, who was Link Jarrett, who's now the head coach at Notre Dame. And I wrote a note. Mike Trout, outfielder from New Jersey, really good runner, physical kid. Follow. Let's do what we can from a recruiting standpoint with him. With all the send him all the documentation. So that's the very, very first time that I saw him and how that conversation went.
How did it go beyond that? How did it sort of go from him being wet behind the ears and really feeling himself out and growing to really getting on track for him? Well, and getting Link involved in it as well.
Of course. So, okay. So the recruiting process, as you probably know or can imagine, goes really fast at times. We talk to a lot of kids, and it's just like one to the next. And, okay, he goes away to New Jersey. Link Jarrett did a great job sending him all the correspondence that was NCAA permissible that we could over the year. He went on what we call back then our purple list, because that was our top prospects. And to be honest with you, I kind of got into the season and went through the season. That next year, the 08 season, which we had a very good year, we runner-up in the regional coastal. And I was standing at our state games 1 year later, almost, the next summer. So now he's between his junior and senior year. Probably haven't thought a lot about Mike Trout because, again, recruiting was not that fast. And I get a phone call from Roy Hollenbeck, his high school coach. Roy, tremendous man, great coach. Didn't know him from Adam. And he said, hey, Billy, he goes, I'm talking to Mike, and he goes, he really enjoyed his time down there last year, really enjoyed meeting you. And where are you in this? Now, I have to be honest with you. When he said that, I'm going, okay, Mike. Like, I just remembered the runner from New Jersey that played for the Arsenal. Again, there's probably 1,000 kids in your name in the recruiting process. So what I've learned to do is you get him, keep talking, and then you figure out who he's talking about. Well, quickly I went, oh yeah, the kid from the Arsenal. Whoa. So I said, hey, Roy, because he's had a few minor offers, but he really talked a lot about East Carolina this year to me and liked your program. And I said, well, I'm going to be up next week for 10 days in the Northeast recruiting. And what's he doing? And at that time, he was trying to make the USA team. So there was this thing in Cary called the Tournament of Stars. He was coming down for later in the month. This was probably second, third week of June. And so actually Mike Manning, who you just mentioned and spoke to yesterday, had an event. And his event was over, and I actually had a day between that event and another recruiting event I was going to. So I called Roy, and I said, hey, is Mike playing? Anything going on with him? And lo and behold, they had a Legion game, and he was playing in that Legion game before. Just stay sharp for the USA deal. And so he went – so I was like, perfect, I'll be there tomorrow night. So now it's between his junior and senior year. I go to this game. And I'm the only one there. I'm the only college coach there. And I'm like watching him and I'm going, am I missing something here? I mean, he was phenomenal. I mean, he ran. He had a really good night at the plate. He actually came in and closed the game. He was 88-90. Met his mom and dad. And that's where the process really took off, ensuing as we got to know each other. And that's what I like to do is try to get to know the family and the players and make sure it's a great fit. It took off with an offer from there, but it wasn't until after the USA trials he called me, and he did not make the USA team, the 18U team that year. And he called me and said, Coach, I know you want to know before. In like mid-July, I think I had asked him to let me know, and the trials were more like third week. He said, but I really would like to put all my energy in making the USA team, and I said, I understand. So but good to his word. Now when he went to the U.S., blew up. I mean, everybody started to recruit Mike Trout between his junior and senior year. But because we had been in there, and he had come back to campus that summer on a visit, and I had spent some time with, Jeff and Debbie and Mike, and taking them around campus. I felt like we had a little bit of a head up on some of the other people who were trying to get in the mix. But as soon as he got back from the USA deal and didn't make the team, he called me within 24 hours and verbally committed, and then we later signed him, in November, which was about 3 months later.
You mentioned his parents, Jeff and Debbie. When you recruit a kid and you find out that dad not only played college baseball, but had some time in the pros. Jeff played at the University of Delaware, spent, I think, 4 years in the Twins organization. Do you sort of look at the kid afterwards a little bit and say, you know what, that makes sense that, dad has a baseball background, and, whether it was collegiately or even to the pro level?
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, his dad, had coached, I want to think football too at Millville. Yep. And yeah, absolutely. But when you see an athlete with that kind of physicality at that young of an age, the other is Jeff's background was a bonus. It was like, okay, he's got good genes. He's got good, good genes. There's some pedigree here. That's great. But, I'll be honest, I don't think I've seen a kid, and I scouted for 5 years with the Yankees before I came to Greensboro. Looking back now, I was like, okay, this is a good player. But, did I think he was going to be the best player in baseball at that time? No, I thought he was a very talented young man who had tremendous makeup. I mean, everything you read about his character and makeup and the family aspect is exactly 100% true.
So that winter, after you get his commitment, 2008, 2009, going into his senior year of high school in New Jersey, did you project him as a possible draft pick at that point in time? I mean, and was it as high as the first round where he went?
No. I'll tell you, I went and I watched every at bat in Jupiter, Florida, which is a big WWBA event. He was playing for the Arsenal there, and actually, Link Jarrett was with me, and I think he whatever how many games, 4 games, but I watched every bat. I think he was 2 for, and I'm guessing 2 for the tournament in 4 games. He had I remember like it was yesterday. He had it off the end of the bat squibber that I got like a 3.9 down the line. And I'm like, I mean, you don't see sub-4s. And then he hit a grand slam. And when he hit the grand slam, I started looking around to see where all the scouts were and who was watching, because that event, there's 4 games going on at one time in a pod. And, walking out of that event, I thought he was a draft pick. I did, because of the physicality, and he had some power and showed some tools and skills. But I still thought he was very unrefined, from a little raw. And so if I had a gun to my head coming out of that event, I would have thought 5th to 7th round.
Okay.
And I actually had one of my good friends with the Braves watch him a game or 2 with me because he didn't have a game. I said, what do you think about this kid? Where do you think he would go? Just on a guess. That's what we do for a living. And I knew that Jeff and Debbie valued school. Jeff had gone to school. He was very honest with me. He told me he learned a lot by playing the college game and wanted his son to go to school. And I just felt like it was going to take a lot better than the 5th round for him to sign. And then we can talk about later. I went up later in the spring and saw him again.
So at this point in the winter, you're thinking you're going to get him to campus in the fall of 2009. At that point, what designs did you have on Mike Trout for his freshman year?
Well, for his freshman year, I thought I had another very talented center fielder named Trent Whitehead, who's one of the better center fielders I ever coached, and he broke the school record in hits in 2009. I felt like we'd play 2 outfielders and 5 infielders. That's what I felt like if he was coming to school. That was his plans. That would have revolutionized the college game, because those 2 guys, you could put one in left center, one in right center, and they had everything. But I was, at that time I was excited. I was excited because I knew we were getting a high quality makeup kid that had tremendous physical ability, and really just, again, loved the family. And and really got to know him and loved him. It wasn't until later in the spring when I went back to New Jersey to see him play, I felt a lot different, if that makes sense.
So go through that. When you saw him in his senior year, were there more eyes on him at that point in time?
Oh yeah. I walked in, and it's kind of funny having scouted for 5 years, and you're the scout, and then there's the college coach. Well, I walk into Millville. They're playing a game away at a neighboring town, and this is probably, I'm guessing early May. I flew up on a Monday, and they had a game, and so he's taking BP, and I walk in the dugout, and the two dugouts were full of scouts, and there's probably 30 plus scouts there, and I went, whoa. And here you are, you're the lone wolf, you're the college coach, who's trying to get him to come to school. And
are you hoping for a rain out that day?
Well, what was interesting that day is he was switch hitting. He was swings left-handed. But I noticed immediately, I thought how much better his swing had gotten, how much more polished it was. And so we go over to the game. Again, it wasn't far away, 15, 20 minutes away. He plays, I saw what I still talk about as one of the most amazing things. And I think it was on the ESPN special they did. He hit the inside park home run. He hit a ball that day 400 feet in the tennis courts. Okay, that wasn't, but he hit a ball in right center field that most people, it's just a double. And when he hit it, the center fielder gets over, picks it up. I mean, it's a high school exchange. It's not kicking it around at the fence. And by the time he hit second base, and by the time the kid picked the ball up and went to turn the throw, Mike was just hitting second base. And I went, oh my gosh, he's going to score. And he turned that thing on another level. And he did. He scored standing up, inside the park home run, clean exchange on just a ball hit the right center field. I still think today that's one of the top 3 things I've ever seen in the game of baseball at amateur level, is how he moved around those bases and how he smelt he was going to score, and he kicked that thing into another gear. And that's when I went, this guy's not coming to school. That's when and plus you saw the interest he was getting. And Ray Fagnan, who's been a longtime friend with the Red Sox, is a Northeast scout. He came up and he goes, you want to see that? I got that on video. I go, no, Ray, I saw it live. I don't need to see it anymore.
Oh, that is great. When June rolls around, he gets taken by the Angels organization. Did he touch base with you after the draft? Did you touch base with him? And was there a conversation?
I talked to him and his father. Talked to his father at Link. His father was almost apologetic in a way. And I was like, hey, no, he first round. I mean, he's got to take this opportunity. It's a special opportunity. And I'll be honest. We hate as college coaches to lose good players. But I was so excited for him because of the opportunity he was going to get in the investment the Angels were making in him. I'll go back and tell you another. So after that game, we go to a little Italian restaurant. It's the family and grandmother and grandfather. And I had this book that I had prepared to give them about the value of going to college. And I'll never forget, Jeff looked at me, and we were in this restaurant, and we were just sitting there, and I was going to pull the book out and give it to him and start talking. And Jeff goes, Coach, we know why you're here. He goes, first round, he'll probably sign. Second round, we'll see. Third round, he'll be at East Carolina. And I was like, well, they value school, and I don't blame them. But that was kind of cool. And then I remember later, after we finished dinner that night, Mike kept kicking his dad under the table. I noticed it. And finally his dad went, yes, Mike, you can. And I didn't know. I said, does he got a girlfriend? Does he want to go out on a date? All he wanted to do was go fishing when he got home before he got dark. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, is he looking to go out when he gets home? What does he want to do? And his dad went, yes, Mike, you can go fishing.
Part of the pitch at that point is, down here at East Carolina, we got plenty of fishing holes for you to take advantage of.
We have a lot of
So I looked it up yesterday, and I didn't realize, but yesterday was 9 years since he made his major league debut. So if you think about it, it would have been that summer of after his sophomore year going to his junior year, if he had gotten to campus. So at 19 years old, 19 plus, he's making his major league debut. Maybe he was playing for the USA collegiate team. Maybe he's playing on the Cape at that point in time. Instead, he's in the big leagues. From that time, and I think you mentioned it yesterday a little bit. You've had some conversations over the years with his dad, Jeff. You've texted him once in a while. It's got to be pretty neat to have Mike Trout's cell phone number on speed dial.
Well, it is, and I mean, I've laid back. Later, I'll tell you something else about Mike. That's really neat. Okay, so in 14, 14, we were playing at Rice, and the Angels. It was very close to opening the season. Were coming to Houston to play, and I'd reached out to him about coming over and possibly talking to our team, and I think the plane got away late, and it didn't work out that he could do that. But he insisted that I come over and spend time and see him. And so I took my staff and myself, and we went over. And Jeff and Debbie were waiting, kind of shoot us in. And they had honored Roy Oswalt that night, and Mike was down the left field line waiting to see me. And I just thought it was really, really cool. Like, I guess what year was that he made his debut? 12?
11. Yep.
11. All right, we're in 2014. He's been in the big leagues 3 years, been probably runner-up MVP or MVP at least once or twice, that never played for me, but still had a vested interest to spend time. Went down after the game, probably spent 45 minutes with him, which, I'll cherish. It was like he had played with me for 4 years, and that was a really pretty neat scenario for me personally.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing the stories on him. Transitioning to present day, you were in the midst of year number 1 at UNC Greensboro, getting back into the college side after, and you mentioned it earlier, spending the previous 5 years scouting in the Yankees organization and covering the Carolinas. What was it like getting back in uniform and being around young people again? And you guys were off to a pretty good start to the college baseball season here in 2020 at UNC Greensboro.
We were, and again, Link Jarrett, I mentioned his name earlier. He was my recruiting coordinator. He's now at Notre Dame. He was the previous head coach. He didn't leave the cupboard bare. So don't act like Billy Godwin came in and did anything special. He had a good group of kids. He's had some success here. UNCG is a good place, great facility located in the heart of our state. It was a simple decision for me, but it was a tough decision, Steve, just because the Yankees treated me very well. The people were great, but I felt like I'd coached for 30 years. I felt like I could make a greater impact in lives, and that's what I missed. If I missed anything, I missed the opportunity to make a daily impact on players and individuals. And so it wasn't about putting the uniform on or being the head coach. It was just about having a daily walk with our players to try to help them and help them grow up as young men, teachers, doctors, lawyers, bankers, whatever they choose to be, to make them and help them become successful individuals and learn how to compete and go about things the right way.
I'm not grading your answer, but there's a common theme in that answer, because I go back, I can connect two people, and you may know both names. 2000, I was in the New York Penn League with the Staten Island Yankees, and Joe Arnold had just left Florida, and we were talking one night at dinner because he had another college guy on his staff in Staten Island. And, you talk, what's the transition been like, the different things, college ball to pro ball. And he touched on it. He goes, I had more of an impact. Now my job is to get him moving along, get him acclimated to the organization, the way we do things. And, he said, he goes, I miss having that impact in a different way on college kids. He goes, and I don't know if, and I remember to this day, Joe Arnold saying, I don't know if I'd ever go back to that direction now that I'm doing this. And one of his players that year was Danny Burrell, who left the Yankees organization. Yeah. And Danny was first-year pitching coach at Georgia Tech, and I had a chance to reconnect with him. And he said something similar. It was a want to make an impact at a different level with kids through baseball. So very similar answers.
Yeah, and it's the same, but it is different at the professional level, because especially in the minor leagues, they're there just for their job is to only be there the shortest amount of time possible. Where, here 3 to 4 years, I have an opportunity to spend time with kids, get to know them, get to know their families, just it's really remarkable over the years. I think some of the kids don't appreciate how much you do for them or care for them till they're gone. Just the texts, the well wishes, the things over the years. When I came back to this job, I had numerous players reach out and really excited that I was back in the game, the college game.
If you could share your thoughts on scouting right now with pro ball clubs, you're on the amateur side for 5 years with the Yankees organization. It's a different world. And in that 5 years, did you see sort of a transition for how teams, go through with their scouts at different levels?
No question. I think the biggest thing I saw and change, which I think is good because I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a little older and done some things, but I feel like if I got a chance to get up every day and learn one thing, it can be a valuable asset for me. I think the first year I scouted, you're a little bit oblivious. You're just going out and going, yeah, I like that guy, 5th round, whatever, and you're putting them in a certain area. And then you realize how bad you screw up. Like my first year scouting, there were 3 kids in my area that made it to the big leagues that I didn't even turn in. I didn't think were prospects. And then when I go back and look at it and reflect, I go, no, I probably should have tried. There was a reason. They did something that should have allowed them. But I felt like also I did a good job my first year. Did I miss 3 kids? Yeah, possibly. They were late picks. But I think the biggest change over the years was all the data, and especially with the Yankees because it was special. They had a lot of data and analytics. And look, all analytics is not good, just in my opinion. All scouting is just, I like that guy, that's it. Not even look at what kind of history he's had, kind of success he's had, what kind of numbers, exit velocity, things. But when the Yankees had a unique ability that we were combining the two and using both as our strengths and not one as a weakness or the other. We weren't old school. I really thought that I learned and grew about the game because I felt like the analytical piece was information. And you got to remember, I think I remember this, and I tell people this all the time. Information is important only if we use it correctly. If we can apply it in the right way, information can be very valuable. But if we misuse information, it's not really valuable. And I thought there was a lot of valuable information that came out of the analytical side in my time with the Yankees.
You touched on earlier, and we'll wrap with some things on your team presently. Having the meetings with them, having their plans daily, weekly. Right now, do you have kids out playing in the different wood bat leagues around the country right now? Are you guys able to take advantage and have them out and trying to develop for next year?
Yes, yeah. I had. I think when we started this, we had about all of our players placed. And I say all, I'd say there was a few that, need to take the summer off for various reasons, but probably had 80% of our players placed. I think now I still have 12 that are playing in summer leagues of the 25 returners I have coming back. So I have about half of my team out, that's returning. Of course, we got some high school kids coming in and so forth, but they are. I'm actually hoping to go to a game tonight and see, 4 of our current players playing a game tonight.
Well, I wish you all the best going forward. Hopefully we can connect down the road at some point in time, but really appreciate you sharing some of the stories today, and not only on Mike, but your career as well. Thanks so much. I just want to close with this because I almost feel like it's a true confession because, at East Carolina, not that far from one of the Carolina League cities that I used to visit in Kinston. And I'm going to give you a little true confession here. If you bear with me for just a moment, you may never want to talk to me again after this. I will tell you that. I've got pulled pork on the menu tonight in the household for my wife to give for our kids as I go off to work. But it's in a crock pot. And the reason I bring that up is because as I was doing it, I'm like, I'm going to be talking to Billy Godwin, who is, a Carolina guy. He's had plenty of pulled pork over the years and plenty of good barbecue. Mine's in the crock pot right now, and it got me to thinking, boy, I miss King's barbecue. Have you frequented King's at all? ever?
I actually have. Not recently because I'm moving. And then I can say this, and I love it, but going west of I-95, Raleigh, Greensboro, barbecue is not the same. Make sure you got vinegar. You got to use vinegar in there, though. It's a vinegar-based barbecue.
I did, but you would pass on mine, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I joke with my wife now, who grew up in the western part of the state. I go, that's not real. You got like some kind of zesty ketchup sauce going. But you're on it. You're right. One thing I do miss, and I would say this: if people say, "What would be your last meal?" Mine would probably be barbecue.
There you go. Thanks so much, Coach. Really enjoyed it. Enjoy the day. Stay healthy. Best to you and your family and your team as well.
All right. Thanks so much for having me.
And that is Billy Godwin, the head coach at UNC Greensboro, former coach at East Carolina, and some great stories on Mike Trout. Really enjoyed the conversation. We're going to have another episode on Friday. We'll get some sugar random thoughts next week as well. But please, again, continue. If you're following us on Facebook, we're going to be up on with our YouTube channel very soon. But I've enjoyed this, and another great guest and another great person to talk a little baseball with, and with Billy Godwin, the head coach at UNC Greensboro. Enjoy your Thursday, everybody.